So ladies, gentlemen, people of the DC Universe out there, welcome to a brand new news roundup video, and today we've got quite a bit to cover. From, well, the first story, which I am very, very happy about, the casting of Supergirl. We're going to get some other updates about the DCU from James Gunn. We've also got some tidbits about the Batverse, some Barry Keoghan Joker stuff, and a casting for the Penguin, and probably some other updates that I'm forgetting about right now. So, right out the gate, I need to get into the Supergirl casting. Right here from Deadline, I've also got the Hollywood Reporter because they've included a little tidbit which I thought would be interesting that I'll cover in just a second. But here you can see Supergirl, New Woman of Steel, is House of the Dragon's Millie Alcock. Now, if you've been watching me for the past few weeks, ever since we heard about the frontrunners with Emilia Jones, Meg Donnelly, and Millie Alcock, I've been saying one person's name. Even though I've been saying if any of the other frontrunners were chosen, I would have been pretty damn happy. But I had one name mainly in my mouth, and that was Millie Alcock. I don't know what it is. I don't want to get my head too big here. I don't want to blow it up too much. But it's a similar thing with Superman Legacy. I can't fan cast for shite. Like, if people keep asking me, who's your DCU Batman? Who's your whatever? And I'm like, I really don't know. But give me a list of frontrunners who are being considered for the role. You know, for Superman, David Corenswet, Nicholas Hoult, Lois, Phoebe Dynevor, and then Rachel Brosnahan, and several others. I'll be like, right, I want this person, I want this person. And then somehow, so far, I've guessed 3 in a row. Now, again, I know lots of people out there really wanted Meg Donnelly, but I am over the moon about this. So I'm now thinking, am I going to guess DCU Batman correctly? Okay, I feel my head getting a bit big here, but I probably won't. Like, surely I'm not going to be spot on forever. I'm so happy about this. And so is James Gunn. We've got a few responses here that I want to go through. So, I mean, of course, we got Millie Alcock herself on Instagram saying, thank you, with a little blue love heart emojis there and a little kind of little pleading cute emoji face. So I think she must be very over the moon. You would think so. James Gunn on Instagram said, this is accurate. That's what he does these days. If there's a new story, it's like, this is inaccurate. This is accurate. Millie is a fantastically talented young actor, and I'm incredibly excited about her being a part of the DCU. Yes, I first became aware of her in House of the Dragon, like myself, but I was blown away by her varied auditions and screen tests for Supergirl. She embodies Kara, as envisioned by Tom King. And speaking of Tom King, we also have a screenshot from his Instagram, of course, the writer of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, saying she's Supergirl and she doesn't give a about slings and arrows. And if you've read the comic, you would know what I mean, or what he means when he says that. Perfect casting. Couldn't be more excited to see Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, the world that Bill Chris Evely built, brought to life by this incredible actor. Insanity. It started so small. And, you know, I mean, I'm just really getting into the flow of excitement here. Takes me back to when David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan were cast. And now Jim Lee commented on James Gunn's post on Instagram saying, beautiful seeing it all come together. And this one really made me fascinated. He said, Jim Lee, I have to show you the test at some point. You're going to freak out. Which makes me think, you know, if he's so excited to show Jim Lee the screen test, and, you know, it's like, you're going to freak out, dude. You know, you need to see this kind of thing. Well, I believe Millie Alcock did test, like, screen tests for this role in Atlanta, which is where none other than not only James Gunn is at, but also David Corenswet. Now, I think if you were screen testing for Supergirl, not only would they maybe put you into something Supergirl looking, maybe even Sasha Calle's costume, I don't know. Dare I bring up that name? Because I know lots of people are still understandably salty about that. But what I'm trying to get to here is that you might also see if you have any chemistry with your in-universe cousin, Kal-El, Superman himself, David Corenswet. So I have to think when James Gunn says, you know, these varied auditions and screen tests, she embodies Kara and envisioned by Tom King, etc., and like Jim Lee would freak out if he saw this. Maybe they had like awesome Kara and Clark / Superman energy, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but it just seems like if they could do it and organize that, then you would want to do that, wouldn't you? Like, you would want to see, hey, how do you vibe with David Corenswet, the Superman, your family that you'll be interacting with quite a bit in the future. But she must have absolutely knocked out the park. But either way, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to all of you guys who are vibing with me and what I was saying about what I kind of saw in Millie Alcock versus that of the other actors up for the role. I just, I feel like what I felt mirrors what James Gunn said as I'm making this video right now. So I'm going to read this out. Literally 4 minutes ago, I took this screenshot, as you can see. James Gunn, in case you missed this exciting news yesterday, strangely, Millie was the first person I brought up to Peter for this role, well over a year ago, when I had only read the comics. I was watching House of the Dragon and thought she might have the edge, the grace, and the authenticity we needed for the DCU Supergirl. And now here we are, life is wild sometimes. Now, I really want to hone in on what he said at the ending there, because it's kind of what I was trying to articulate when I was justifying my choice for who I would see out of the frontrunners to be picked for Supergirl. And I said, something about Millie Alcock, and I admitted maybe I had some low-key bias after seeing her in House of the Dragon, but after seeing her acting range there, playing Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, she did have, as James Gunn said, this, graceful princess-esque side of her, but she also had this hardened version, which was pretty versatile. There's those moments where you had some of those scenes where she quite literally says, Dracarys, and it was badass, and you think, ooh, if she can combine, the heart of Kara, the grace of Kara Zor-El, the Supergirl that we will see in the DCU, but when needs be, as per Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, as per what James Gunn has described about this character, this more effed up version of Supergirl, she's been through a lot, she witnessed Krypton blow up, all of this stuff. You're gonna want to bring that out of her, and I knew she was capable of that, so I feel like she was kind of this, and there's no other way to put it other than this very versatile actor who can really give you that heroic side, but also this kind of rogue version of that hero side that I feel like needs to be fused together. And I'm not saying that Meg Donnelly or Emilia Jones couldn't bring that, but I'm glad that clearly I identified something in Millie Alcock in the way I was explaining before that, lo and behold, James Gunn kind of reiterated here from what I was saying, that the whole edge, the edginess, if you will, memes aside there, but grace, and also this kind of, with that blended, bringing about this authenticity that is needed for the DCU Supergirl, especially, I think, specifically, this version of Supergirl from Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Let me know if you're happy, excited, disappointed, but maybe, I still don't hate it. I would like to see Millie Alcock, but maybe would have preferred Meg Donnelly, but I don't hate it. Or do you absolutely hate it? Let me know down in the comments below. Oh, one more thing as well is that DCU Updates over on Twitter posted on Instagram, and James Gunn's post about it. They said that the Hollywood Reporter said that the Woman of Tomorrow could go into production in the fall. Is that true? And James Gunn liked that comment. Now, this doesn't guarantee anything, but again, other than the reason why I haven't gone specifically through paragraph after paragraph in the Hollywood Reporter's article or, Deadline, is they're not really saying anything new other than, Supergirl is planned to be in a DC Studios project before her own Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie, but we can't guarantee that Superman Legacy, but you would have to think that it would be. And other than that, of course, the Hollywood Reporter says what DCU Updates just said, in that the feature could be shooting in the fall. And the fact that James Gunn liked that comment of DCU Updates acknowledging that, it does seem to me that DC Studios, James Gunn, are really looking to start shooting Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow by the fall of 2024, which is, is quite a while away. We're only just about to enter February, so they've got a long time to find a director and get everything swinging in that direction. But yeah, it looks like that other project that we heard about, that Superman Legacy, wouldn't be the only project from DC Studios going into production this year. It could very well be Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. And the reason why some of you may be like, well, isn't that obvious? Well, not really. You've got Peacemaker and whatnot, season 2, and we're going to go over that a little bit later. But that is more or less everything I've got to say about Supergirl for now. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about it in a discussion series video, but we have got quite a few other things to cover in this video. So let's get on to the next thing. So now we've got some DCU updates from Gunn on threads in general. First of all, of course, we have James Gunn posting a thread rather than replying to someone for once, saying, with the engineer herself, Maria Riella Di Furia, I believe is how you pronounce the name, in town for stunts and costume fittings for Superman. You guys are going to love this character on the screen. And there they are, looking very, 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 very happy. And if you didn't know who she is, just, newsflash, don't forget she's the engineer. One of the members of the Authority. Doesn't guarantee that we're going to get the whole team in the movie. In fact, I don't think we will at all. But maybe they're going to slip in one or two other Authority members in the film. Maybe not, though. It could just be the engineer, which is still, yes, somewhat low-key backdoor piloting the engineer / that Authority member to kind of sprinkle the tease for the next DCU movie, The Authority, which actually is that still the case since Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow seems to be going into production by fall 2024. I don't know. As I've always said recently, that the DCU release order, as per the Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters announcement video, isn't concrete. They still might shuffle things around a little bit, so that remains to be seen. But what I find cool about this as well is that she is going through costume fittings. Now, we've talked about this quite a bit. Maybe the engineer is going to be a lot more practical than what we first realized in terms of how, of course, as what I'm probably showing on screen right now, the engineer is like freaking Terminator 2 liquid metal everywhere. That's a part of her power set, and she is insanely powerful as a result. But I have entertained before, okay, look at Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy, like her arm, that like kind of robotic metallic arm is literally a sleeve that Karen Gillan wore, so maybe they're going to kind of do something like that, but maybe touch up the character with CGI every now and again where necessary, of course. But yeah, it's great just to see how happy they are, and I can't wait for all the behind-the-scenes stuff that is going on. Now, up next, we have Gunn replying to this user saying, why can't Batman appear in Superman Legacy? And can we see Batman in some other production before his film, The Brave and the Bold? And Gunn said, well, he can't appear in Superman Legacy because he's not in the script. But the thing is, what I will say is, I don't exactly blame people for asking that. I mean, some of you may be like, well, obviously Batman's not going to be in Superman Legacy, but, we are getting a Batman film, so I do think, there is a reason why some people might be wondering, okay, well, you've got all these other superheroes like Mr. Terrific, Green Lantern, Metamorpho. Maybe Batman could be seen somewhere, but I would have always said, if I put my chip on the table, I'd be like, no. However, I wouldn't rule out any Easter eggs of Bruce Wayne, Wayne Enterprises, and things like that. As I've always said, this film has a lot of exposition to set up about the DCU. Lots of people like to joke about it being overstuffed, but say what you will there, no matter what, this is the first proper live-action look at everything, and, I'm not saying it's going to be Easter egg galore, but, I wouldn't be surprised if, you're in the Daily Planet, there's a newspaper talking about Gotham, or Bruce Wayne doing this latest thing with Wayne Enterprises, something like that. And Gunn didn't really reply, and this is, I admit. He didn't reply to the idea of the user asking, can we see Batman in some other production before his film? He chose to not reply to that. Is that because he could be appearing in some other production before Brave and the Bold? I don't know about that one. Obviously, there's the theory of, will the DCU Arkham show pitched by Matt Reeves be appearing before Brave and the Bold in the lineup, the release order? I don't know about that, but then, of course, you could argue that Batman could appear before The Brave and the Bold, but, I could go down that rabbit hole forever. But don't expect Batman, don't expect Bruce Wayne, other than maybe some references at most, is what I would advise for now, if you will. Now, up next, with regards to Peacemaker, we have James Gunn replying and talking about writing. His, most of the days of his week is spent doing pre-production on Superman for most of the day, and writing Peacemaker Season 2 in the evening and some mornings. This weekend was all spent almost finishing episode 8 of Peacemaker. And then we have another reply here to this user saying, I imagine it's so far ahead you're not even thinking about it, but I hope you come back to direct a few episodes of Season 2. I really love the tone you established. And Gunn said it's not so far ahead, which is very fascinating to me. Very fascinating, because this comes back to the whole question of originally, before Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow and James Gunn liking that DCU Updates comment of, well, the Hollywood Reporter said Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow could be entering production fall of 2024, and he liked this, indicating that the previous comment about Superman Legacy isn't the only production entering production, if you will, this year, is Supergirl, and maybe it wasn't Peacemaker. But it doesn't mean that there can't be more than two. That's something as well. And you combine that, ladies and gentlemen, with what Danielle Brooks said a couple of weeks ago now, or less, I can't really remember, but it was recently. When being asked about Peacemaker Season 2, she said, it's happening. When? Not quite sure, but I think this year, hopefully we'll get started. And at the time I thought, well, I guess that's possible, but, you know, Gunn's going to be so busy with Superman Legacy, isn't he? But what I kind of boiled it down to is, especially with Gunn's recent reply about how it's not so far away, it's not so far ahead, I do think that Peacemaker Season 2, just like what Danielle Brooks kind of let slip there with maybe what she has heard, that it could also be entering production in fall of 2024. But the thing is, in a way to make this work is that Gunn might not be directing all episodes, which, by the way, he didn't direct all episodes of Peacemaker Season 1. He directed, I think, 5 of the episodes, and then you had 3 other directors for the 3 other episodes. So I think Gunn could make the post-production, because this is the thing, right? He's going to be busy with post-production at that point of Superman Legacy, like editing, scoring, all kinds of things. The filming would be done, but, you know, post-production, actually making and crafting and putting all the jigsaw pieces together is quite a time-consuming period as well. Now imagine directing a whole other show. Yeah, and that is also your baby, Peacemaker. I don't know, like, that's the thing. He would be so... It's hard to comprehend how busy he would be, but maybe he might just direct the pilot, maybe a couple of episodes. I think he would be able to make that work, but maybe not 5 episodes this time, because again, 3 directors directed 3 episodes of the 8-episode Season 1, so I think he could be basically getting other directors to film most of the season. However, he has written each and every episode. So, long story short here, I do think that it looks, especially with what Gunn is implying here, that Peacemaker Season 2 could very well be filming this year as well. Now, we have some other DCU tidbits with this user saying, will Legacy be shot in IMAX by any chance? And Gunn says yes, so IMAX screening, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you see it in IMAX. I'm very much so looking forward to that. Here's one that I found very intriguing because I think this has the potential to piss some people off because it certainly did before. So this user says, James, do you like Diana as a bloody warrior or an ambassador of peace? And Gunn says, I liked both versions. Now, the reason why this is fascinating, by the way, is because I remember on Wonder Woman Day, as per the screenshot here on October 22, 2023, Gunn uploaded to his Instagram saying Happy Wonder Woman Day, and he posted this artwork, which everyone was like, oh my god, this means that the DC Wonder Woman's going to be a sword-wielding, slaughtering, beheading Wonder Woman. It doesn't guarantee that. But I did definitely, entertain some speculation that, with the heavy suggestion that Gal Gadot isn't reprising her role, that Wonder Woman in the DCU, I think there could be a combination of what people like about both versions. Obviously, how Diana before... And it's so interesting, and I know the comments are going to probably get into the same thing in this video. It depends on what material you have absorbed, even though, with that being said, the vast majority of Wonder Woman out there that you can absorb, of which has probably set this precedent of the character in people's minds, is that, yes, she will wield the sword and shield, but she would rather solve a fight first through not resorting to a physical confrontation, if you will. Like, basically, Wonder Woman will kind of try and do anything before physically coming at you with a freaking bloody sword, as in that image, if you know what I mean. Which is why people like the ambassador of peace, as this user puts it, approach to her and feel like that is literally integral to her character. But there have been more kind of outright kind of God of War iterations, and Gunn says he likes both. So I do think that maybe what he's going to do, and this is complete speculation here, obviously, that I think Diana's going to not be afraid to do that, and we will be seeing situations of the DCU Wonder Woman being a badass like that. And it's not saying that she isn't a badass in a more peaceful sense, but she will try and resolve conflicts again, without going ham first. I think you're going to see a bit of both, but I don't know if you're going to please everyone at the end of the day. So up next with this user saying, can you tell us why Creature Commandos will be the first project to be released? Was it just ready for release first, or was being released before Superman Legacy? Is it a part of the big DCU narrative? And I wanted to talk about this because Gunn simply replies, it was written and ready to go. We thought it worked well as an aperitif before the meal of Superman Legacy, which is, fair enough. We've heard that before. Creature Commandos is basically this appetizer in animated format. You know, it doesn't mean that everyone's going to watch it, but technically, even though the DCU properly kicks off with Superman Legacy, you know, as your first proper look at the live-action exposition and the status quo of things in the world, technically Creature Commandos is the first. It is the first peak. Even though it's in animated format, it shouldn't be diminished because it's animated. It's literally canonical and the first glimpse you're getting. So I found it interesting because there wasn't particularly, or at least he hasn't acknowledged here, any story reason for that being first. And I wanted to talk about that because there were rumors of how the Center could be one of the big bads, or at least if they're doing big bads through maybe chapter formats, maybe not over both chapters, but let's just say chapter 1 of the Center. And how Creature Commandos could, or at least be partially set on Dinosaur Island, which is another name for the Center. And I thought maybe that could be our first tease into maybe this awakening or something being instigated through the Creature Commandos show. But that might not be the case. Who knows? But either way, Creature Commandos might not necessarily echo out into the overarching story of the DCU's, you know, big story in the way that Lanterns could, with them uncovering this ancient horror, which Gunn has said will reverberate throughout the DCU's overarching story. But, you know, I don't want to go too hard on this right now. It is and has always meant to be this appetizer, if you will, for the DCU and for before the meal, as Gunn puts it, your main course, if you will, Superman Legacy. But that doesn't mean Creature Commandos won't be important. I think it will still have some, you know, consequences or this reverberating kind of echo throughout whatever happens in that show. And I'm looking forward to see what that is. I think that has been teased somewhere where I can't remember where I heard this, but Creature Commandos might be a little bit more important than what people realize. Okay, so in some Batverse-related news, and my God, we need more news. We need more news, Matt, please. Please, just something. Well, we've got a couple of things, but I'm talking the Batman Part 2. Well, let's start off on the Batman Part 2. It's kind of recycling what we've been over before, but once again, Barry Keoghan. And you may remember this in that first interview where he was asked about returning in the Batman Part 2 as the Joker, and he does get very awkward and fidgety, and rightfully so. But it 1010% implies to me he is, you know, and I thought this anyway, he'd appear in some capacity, even if in a small role. But his initial video interview reply was, you know, my smile says it all, if you know what I mean. He literally says that. And now there's another interview of him on stage with a few other actors, and he's once again asked about returning to the character of the Joker in the Batman Part 2. And instead of actually saying as much as he did in the first one, he got very awkward and, you know, and he went like this. Well, he did the, you know, not talking, but, you know, and it's just like, dude's coming back. Like, he's coming back. And I find it very exciting, just to double down on what I've said before. He has evidently been told, you know, whether the script is done or not at this point, that he's had communications with Matt Reeves and, you know, here's a direction for your character. I know you're probably going to have a role here and there or whatever. He's kind of got the gist. So he is excited. As he said in the first interview as well, like, my smile says it all, if you know what I mean. So there's another one of those going around. I would show the video, but don't want someone to take me down because of showing it without permission or whatever, but it's basically what I said. Now, up next, the Penguin, ladies and gentlemen. We have an update here. So the Penguin, Jared Abramson, I can't speak, to recur in Max's The Batman series. So, exclusive, Jared Abramson, the Changeling, has been tapped for a key recurring role opposite Colin Farrell in the Max original series, The Penguin. Now, this is fascinating to me because I feel like I have a good scope on this from, you know, Michael Kelly's Johnny Vitti to Shoria Dashlu being Maroni's wife to a certain few other people that I kind of know something about and I teased not so long ago. But I don't know who this dude's playing at all. It's nothing like I can talk too much about here, but I genuinely, you know, he's in a key role, and I'm very intrigued. It could be just another crime family boss or someone like that, because you'd have to think that Penguin's going to be up against just, you know, more than the Falcons, because I think, you know, the situation is that you have Johnny Vitti there, and he was like one of the underling chiefs, if you will, of the Carmine crime syndicate, the Falcone crime syndicate, rather. But I don't think he cares for the power to be inherited by his daughter, Sophia. So I think you're going to have a little bit of an internal, not so much civil war, but a little bit of, yeah, I know you're his daughter, but I'm taking it kind of thing. But then you're also going to have the Maronis, and I think they're going to maybe litter in some other crime families, which could be really cool in terms of Batman lore. But I'm really not so sure. As they say here, details about Abrahamson's character are not yet being revealed. Renzi Felice also starts. So if you have any ideas, let me know down in the comments below. But just in terms of Penguin, dead ass excited to, you know, get some footage. I really do think that's coming sooner rather than later. I hope I'm right about that. But ultimately, it's kind of a situation of watch this space. Make sure you have the notifications turned on with this channel so you do not miss my reaction and breakdown to whatever we're going to see next. And then, ladies and gentlemen, with regards to the Batman, in an absolutely crazy twist and turn of events, James Gunn was asked, hey James, some people are spreading the conspiracy theory that you cancelled the Batman 2, but I have to ask, is it true? And there are still people today, I'm telling you, and you know who you are, you're still saying you think he's going to join the DCU, and you think that there isn't going to be a part 2 or whatever it is. Well, Gunn here says, no. Eye roll. How many more times am I going to do this? In other DCU news, guys, back to Aquaman 2, it has surpassed $400 million. So we already talked about how it's beat every other DCEU movie in the box office since the first Aquaman movie. Well, now it's done over 400 million, and it's currently about to hit, by the looks of it, 413 million with regards to how it's at $412,604,919, which is crazy. I don't really have too much more to say about this other than what I've said before. It's like, well, that's interesting, isn't it? Out of Black Adam, all these other movies, I mean, granted, as I said, Black Adam didn't have a China release, but hey, it's not as disastrous as it could have been. That's my biggest takeaway here. Let me know any and all thoughts down in the comments with regards to not only this story, every single story that we've spoken about in this video. As always, another long news roundup ramble, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like on it. I'd really appreciate that. Do consider subscribing to stay up to date with any future updates just like this. But I'll see you guys down in the comment section. Can't wait to see what you have to say. Can't wait to interact with you. But I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you people of the DCU in the next video. Goodbye.